You're sitting across from your friend, watching them light up when their partner texts, and your stomach is turning. Something feels off. You've seen the controlling behavior, the subtle put downs, the jokes that aren't really funny. You love your friend, or maybe this is your daughter or sibling or someone else, and you're worried. But what do you do with that? Do you say something and risk the friendship, risk the relationship, or do you stay quiet and hope they figure it out on their own? This is one of the most emotionally loaded relationship dilemmas you'll probably ever face. And it's not just really about toxic partners. It's about what it means to be a real friend, a real sibling, or to be in a real relationship when the stakes feel high and the lines get really a little blurry. So today we're breaking it all down. How to know if you should speak up, what to say and what not to say, and how to hold your boundaries if the other person stays in the relationship, because they might stay and you need to know how to handle that without sacrificing your sanity or the connection you're trying to protect. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the podcast. Wonderful to have you here. And this is a topic that a lot of you have been asking about. So I am directing it towards friends today, like if you have a friend in a toxic relationship. But as I said in the intro, this would really apply, all of this really would apply if this was, a family member also. Okay. But I don't want to have to keep switching. So I'm going to say friendship during. All right. So why is it so hard to say something? Let's just start there. Where else do we start? And because it's the obvious, right? Speaking up can really feel like a trap, but if you stay silent, you feel complicit. But if you speak up, you risk alienating your friend and losing the relationship entirely. So it really gets hard. From a from a psychological standpoint, of course, it makes sense because we are wired to fear conflict because evolutionarily, is that a word? Evolutionarily? I'm making it up. Because in our history of people kind, being kicked out of the tribe would be fatal. Not could be, would be. So we avoid confrontation, again, because we're hardwired from our ancient times. It's like, like we would avoid a saber-toothed tiger. Your brain literally interprets it as a danger because it really was for millennia. Now, on top of that, if you've ever been in a toxic relationship yourself, your own unhealed wounds might get stirred up. That inner part of you that wasn't believed or protected is now sort of desperate to protect your friend. And I'm going to tell you, it's noble, but also something that you really should be slowing down and looking at. And that's why the first step in any of this is checking in with yourself. Okay. So when I talk to someone, I say, is this a red flag or a personal trigger? And let me say how to tell the difference, because before you step into this kind of emotional fire, you got to get clear. Are you reacting to something truly harmful or to your own discomfort? You need to ask yourself, right? You need to know. So ask yourself, am I seeing specific concerning behaviors? What have I seen in the past? He's tracking her location. She yells at him in front of the kids. They've lost touch with all their friends, something like that. Or am I reacting to preferences, lifestyle differences, or values that aren't aligning with my own? Okay. What I heard recently, I had someone talking about this. She said, well, I met a girlfriend. She said, well, the boyfriend doesn't have a real job. And I was like, what does that mean? And why do you think that's toxic? And he's a entrepreneur and he's a day trader. He does some other stuff, but this was about my client, not about the relationship. Right. So you got to see, like, where is it? I also have had people say, well, they argue a lot. I'm like, well, what's a lot? What does that mean? Are you just uncomfortable with any amount of arguing? Different people do it a different way. I had someone say something, this was a man speaking about a friend of his, and the the wife, and he said, well, she's really intense about parenting. And I said, what does that mean to you? Like, she just has a different parenting style than you do. Is it sick and toxic? Right. So we can sometimes label things that are different, and it doesn't mean it's true. So you really have to get clear. Is it a red flag? Is it not? You remember, you're always seeing the world through your reticular activating system, right? Your RAS. And if you remember, your RAS is your filter between your conscious and your subconscious, okay, in your brain. And it's really a filter for what you believe to be true. It's for what if you're primed to see abuse or dysfunction because of your own past, your RAS will see that. It'll confirm it. Even when the situation may be, a lot more nuanced, or like I said, just something from your own issues. So yeah, your instincts matter, but gut feelings aren't the gospel, and you have to be able to separate that. So you want to pause, you want to check your bias, you want to ground yourself before you speak. Okay, so let me say that. I know what I want to talk about. I also want to talk about why they probably can't hear you yet. Okay, I'm gonna put yet in there. Like, so let's say you've done your gut check and you're still deeply concerned. Okay, now what? So you've done that first check, but you're not sure. Before you talk to your friend, it's really important to understand how their nervous system might react. So if someone is in a trauma bonded or a really codependent relationship, they're not going to process your words through a calm, rational lens. So you just staying, really rational isn't necessarily going to do it. They may be emotionally dependent on this relationship, even if it's harmful. Their brain might be linking this partner to love, to safety, to their identity. And if you challenge that bond, their nervous system interprets it as a threat, not support. And you might be nodding your head right now, because if you're listening, you've probably already done this or already said something to a friend or had a past, experience in this. And you're like, yes, that's exactly what happened. Suddenly they're mad at you when you're trying to help. Okay. And so when you're doing it this way, the result, of course, is defensiveness, denial, anger, withdrawal. None of which means you did anything wrong, but it does mean you need to approach the conversation more carefully. Okay. So you want to learn to say something without destroying the friendship, right? That's really at the very bottom of it all. So how do I say? So this isn't the time. This is not the time to come in hot with accusations or diagnoses. I see that a lot. Your friend doesn't need, a psychological profile and PowerPoint of their partner. They need care, they need clarity, they need non-judgmental support. Okay? So I need for you to think of it in that way. Okay. So with all that said, here is my 4-step framework to help you speak up with love. Okay. So let's get to it. Number 1, and I would say this whenever you're speaking to anyone about anything. How do you like that? I would start with the number 1. When you have any feedback to give anyone, start with permission. I'm telling you, this is magical. And I talk about it. I've talked about it on other podcasts. I've talked about it in other, lessons on communication. If you start with something, asking for permission, can I share something that's been on my mind? Can I share something that's been on my mind? And then wait for the answer. Don't just run into, the rest of it. Wait for the answer and wait and have them, and they'll sometimes they'll just look at you and you need, because they're not giving you an answer. And you'll say, can I, is this a good time? Is this okay? Is this a good time to talk to you about this? And make sure they say yes. And then I always start with something like, I'm only bringing it up because I care about, I'm going to bring something up because I care about you. I want to check it's okay to say something, right? I want to make sure this is cool with you. Does that make sense? So that's first. Ask for permission. I'm telling you, it goes a long way. Number 2 is to make it about you, not them or the other person. Okay. So, and I'm going to say that again. Make it about you, not them and not the other person. So you're not attacking anyone. So think about yourself. Why are you talking to this person? I've noticed I feel anxious sometimes when I see how he talks to you in front of other people. So you are talking about him or her or whoever, but you're talking about yourself first and how you feel. I've noticed I feel anxious, and usually it's anxiety that you're feeling. You can even say, I notice I get so defensive for you and angry when X happens. Do you see that? But do you see how that's coming from your feelings? Um, and you can say, I've said things like, this might just be me being sensitive, but I wanted to say something instead of pretending I'm not worried, about this situation. Okay. Do you see it? Okay. Number 3 is to name the behavior, not the person. So you want it, this is where you're avoiding like diagnoses. Okay. That guy's a narcissist. She's bipolar. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. So avoid saying, he's abusive. She's a manipulator. She's manipulating you. Instead, say something like, uh, I noticed when she made that comment about your weight in front of everyone, you didn't seem okay. And I didn't know how to respond. Do you see that? And then you could ask a question like, how were you feeling when that happened? Do you see how there's like a dialogue here instead of, you can't go in there. Remember, do you want to be correct or effective? You can be right all day. This is the most toxic, horrible relationship, but you will not be effective if you go in with that attitude. What do I always say? Go in trying to learn something, not prove something. So you can say that when they made that comment about your weight in front of you, you didn't seem okay. And I didn't know how to respond. I could feel everyone get really quiet. I don't know what you experienced. How was that for you in that moment? So you notice now this person could, if you attack the person, like it's not okay what they said and this happened and that happened, when you're just diagnosing it and naming it, your friend is probably going to defend their partner. I'm just telling you right now, they're probably, and you've been there, and it's the reason you're listening because you've probably been there. They're just going to go defend them because they see you as attacking them. And so they're going to defend their person. So don't attack them. Just say what you saw in it's a neutral way as you can. And then, right. You didn't seem, and even you didn't seem okay is pushing a little, but you can go there. And again, and I didn't know how to respond. I wasn't sure, I felt like I was going to jump in and protect you or say something, but I didn't want to cause more. I didn't even know if you were upset or not. Like, how are you with that? And again, have a conversation. That's the whole point of this, is to have a dialogue. As I always say, you can't give anyone an aha. You want them to come up with their own aha moment, their own realization, you want them to have self-reflection. And self-reflection happens with questions. When you ask someone, how are you feeling in that moment? Did that hit you funny? You might, again, if you've got a long-term friendship, you might say something like, gosh, I feel like, I know you're often sensitive about your weight because you talk about it with me. That's, I guess, the reason I got uncomfortable, because I was just assuming that upset you too. Did it? Right? Keep the conversation open, open dialogue, right? Number 4 is definitely, and this is kind of an obvious from all this, is you want to avoid pressuring them, and you really want to leave the door open. So I've said things like, and I've had my clients say things like, hey, your relationship better than I ever could. I could be wrong. I just wanted to check in because I love you, right? You're not here to rescue your friend. You're not here to change their relationship. I want you to think of it more about planting a seed. That's how I think of it. I think about it as, this is going to be multiple dialogues, not one dialogue, right? This is going to be, where I'm planting a seed here. I'm asking questions here, because hopefully they will self-reflect, and then they will come to their own good decision, own healthy decision, to say goodbye to this relationship. But you know how it is when someone tells you what to do, right? What's the first thing? And like, I don't want, because you want it, now I don't want it. We will cut off our nose to spite our face. You know that. So be really mindful of not getting so attached to the outcome here of them leaving or whatever. So, okay. So let's talk about what to do. What if they stay? So again, this is the part no one wants to say out loud. Your friend might stay. You could say it so perfectly. I promise you'll have your little Abby notes and you'll practice. You're in the mirror. You're calm before you meditated all morning, before you gave feedback. You did everything amazingly, beautifully, lovingly, right on target in the healthiest way possible. And your friend still stays in the relationship. I think, in fact, they probably will stay, at least for a while. I have rarely seen someone like get up and go, from a first conversation. And I think that's where things get complicated, because now you've said your truth and they've made a choice that you don't agree with, right? You've said it, the cat's out of the bag. So what do you do? So first, let go of the fantasy that speaking up automatically creates change, right? That's what I'm talking about. Just first, that's a form of control, by the way. When you attach your worth or your peace to your friend's choices, you're setting yourself up for pain. This is not what we're doing here. This is not what this is about. And this is where boundaries become your lifeline, right? And I want you to think in this and during this that boundaries are your bridge. They're the bridge, not the wall. What do I always say, right? Boundaries are meant to keep people in. Walls are meant to keep people out. Boundaries are from love. Walls are from fear. So we're in the love. We're in the love. A boundary isn't about shutting your friend out. It's about protecting your peace while, you're in this relationship with your friend. Okay. So you have to establish healthy boundaries if this is something you really can't be around. You might say, hey, I love you. I want to stay close to you, but I'm finding it hard when I see patterns that make me feel worried. Like, I'll always be here for you, but I may need to limit time around both of you for my own well-being, because I get too caught up, right? I love you. I trust you to make your own choices, even when they're different from what I'd choose, is another great way to say your boundary. If you ever want to talk, I'm here, no judgment, leave that out there. None of these are ultimatums, right? They're loving, clear, and grounded in reality. But I would say the biggest thing you want to do at that point is limit your time. And I've had to do this before, is limit your time or energy around this person. And I'll talk about if they keep complaining about the person too. Let me wait on that, but because you should have a boundary there too. Okay. So, but where my clients have struggled in the past is it's like, okay, but how do I stay connected with my friend without feeling complicit, like in this, behave in this relationship that I think is really toxic for them. If your friend stays in the relationship, again, things can feel awkward or strained, sorry. But you can I need you to manage that discomfort to work through it, right? So one of the things I say to do is to reaffirm your care. Say it out loud. Name the elephant in the living room, right? I know I shared some concerns, but I love you and I'm here for you. Okay. And you can say, I'm here for you. So the rest of our friendship, I'm really not comfortable with you talking about your partner, as far as complaining about them. But if you just want to talk about things you've done or anything great, then I'd love to hear it. Or I know I'm not spending time with the two of you together because I have a hard time with that right now. But I'm here, and I hope that we can, our relationship was strong before you had this person in your life. I hope it can be just as strong now that this person is here, right? Definitely don't fake approval. You don't have to co-sign their choices. You just have to stay kind. And I guess now I'll talk about the vent, like if they're complaining about them. So definitely redirect any venting. If they're coming to you with the same complaints again and again, that's to me where the boundaries need to come into play, because that is when you're co-signing their behavior. That is when you're getting involved. It's sort of like if you think about if you had a friend who maybe said they were drinking too much, right? And they kept complaining about all their drinking. At some point, it's not like you would just keep like listening, right? At some point you go, hey, you've talked about this drinking a lot. I want to be a safe space for you, but I don't think you realize how often you're telling me that you're drinking too much. So it's time for you to do something with a professional, not with me. So I don't want to be a space where you talk about this anymore. Unless you're changing your behavior. If you are looking for solutions, if you are looking to change your behavior, if you are looking to make change, I'm happy to listen. I'm happy to problem solve with you and collaborate. If you just want to talk about it and beat yourself up or complain or gossip or whatever, I'm not here for that. Do you see the boundary? Very clear, very clear. I always say the same thing. I tell the person, I'm like, I love you. I'm a safe space for you. But clearly talking about this over and over isn't helping you. And it's not helping me. It's not helping either of us. Right? So that's when I urge people, I'm like, you need to go to therapy and discuss this with a professional. Like, this is me and my friendships, obviously. Otherwise, I am the professional. But do you see where I'm going here? Stop just listening to and I would put this anywhere for anything. If someone comes to you over and over, complaining about their job, complaining about, it's not healthy for them. I promise you it's not. You are not helping them. You are being codependent. You are people pleasing. You're being conflict avoidant. It's all from fear. Their complaints are from fear and your complicitness is from fear. So that's what really needs to stop. I would strongly encourage you to tell folks like, I would be happy to be part of a solution for you. I'm not happy just to listen to you talk. And then don't you make the suggestions. Make sure it's from them, right? When you start remember, what do I say? Don't sack, don't offer suggestions, give advice or criticize. What is left? To ask questions. You want to ask them. So tell me so what's worked with this person or what hasn't worked? What are your biggest complaints? Okay, so how do you plan to solve those? What are your top 3 deal breakers in a relationship? Ask them questions to try to help them understand better what they're doing. And if you've done that and you're over it, then tell them they need to talk to a professional, that you are closed for business, right? And I'm not going to lie about it. Staying connected without enabling dysfunction is absolutely a delicate dance. It's kind of simple, but it's not easy, right? So you need to check in with yourself often, and you need to adjust as needed by checking in with yourself, because you can love someone and still say, I can't keep having the same conversation, right? I actually think that's when you're really loving someone and truly a friend. Yeah. Okay. So, and if you've been carrying this quiet heartbreak, watching someone you love lose themselves in a relationship that worries you, I see you. I've been there. I have absolutely been there. It is one of the hardest emotional knots to untangle. It is one of the harder things to do when we love someone and we value this friendship and we're just watching them implode. And again, this can even be a toxic relationship with a partner. This could be a toxic work environment, where they're just toxic relationship with their mom or their sibling. I mean, there's a lot of places, right? I'm sort of picking out romance, but there's a lot of places this fits. It's hard. You're trying to be loving, you're trying to stay close, and you're trying not to betray your own instincts in the process. And that's hard. You're not supposed to have all the answers. I don't even have all the answers, but you are allowed to speak your truth as long as you say it with kindness, as long as you say it. And I want to say this big, say it without attachment. When I hear people say, well, I have to be brutally honest, and if you don't want the truth, then I'm not your kind of friend. Truth is always kind. Otherwise, it's not truth. It's something else. It's your agenda. It is you. I'm going to say that. I'm not saying that people always take it as kind. I'm saying that you in your heart know that you are in a loving, calm, patient, open space about it when you say the words. That's what I'm saying. So, and when you say it without attachment, what I mean is that you're not attached to what they do on the other side, to them breaking up or staying with this person. You have to say it knowing that love, real, grounded, grown-up love isn't about control. It's about consistency. It's about care. Again, even when the outcome isn't what you hoped for. And I have a free download for today called What to Say When You're Worried, right? So if this conversation is hitting close to home, I created this free download today, What to Say When You're Worried. It's like, I think I call it like 10 loving scripts to use, when a friend's relationship looks toxic, right? It's a one page kind of guide. I packed it with very non-judgmental, heart-centered phrases you can use in real conversations, right? Example openers, boundary statements, gentle redirects, so you can stay loving and clear, right? And I'll also say, if this is an area where you want more help, if this is a big deal for you, I always have a Therapy to Go bundle that you can get with a ton of other stuff you can work on, and that's $10. So every episode's Therapy to Go bundle is included if you're part of my online Substack community. That's only $8 for the whole month. So, if it costs you $10 a piece for these, there's 4 podcasts on average a month, that would be $40 as opposed to $8. And you get live Q&As with me, and you get early drops of the podcast, you get the podcast without ads, you get all kinds of good stuff, but that's totally up to you. The Therapy to Go bundle this week is a boundary clarity map for when a friend stays in a toxic relationship. There's something, I have 8 deep dive discussion questions for really meant for like friendship circles or real life reflection or anything like that. There's journaling prompts. I have, I think, 15 journaling prompts to check your intentions before speaking up. There are 10 mindset reframes for detaching with grace. There's a conversation planning worksheet for speaking hard truths without regret. There's a They Stayed, Now What? It's like a self-compassion checklist for maintaining the relationship. So there's a lot in the Therapy to Go bundle this time, just letting you know. If, again, this is something you think you want to work harder on, but obviously the free download. And if you get the Therapy to Go bundle, you don't have to also get the free download. They're all together. So you can just do one thing. But I really hope this helps today. Like I tried to keep this just to the point and clear and not overly long, because I think that's what you're looking for, is just, what do I do in these situations? So I'm hoping I covered most of that. If you have questions that I didn't answer about this, then, you can leave them below the video on YouTube. That's really the best place. And if you are on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel and, comment, like the video. It always helps more people learn about me. But that's the best place to leave a comment like, hey, what about this or what about that? So I could either decide to do a whole other podcast on that, an episode on that, or I could, answer it right below, which I do all the time. And make sure you check out the Workplace Therapy with Dr. Ivy Metcalf podcast, which should be out by the time you're listening to that. It's coming, listening to this one, it's coming out in mid-October. I'm really excited. And that's like a quickie. It's like 15 minutes quick. Like, here's a tip. Here's what we're focusing on. Get to it. Okay. That is it for this week. I hope this was helpful and got you to where you're trying to go. As always, thank you so much for being here with me. It means the world. I love you so much, and have an amazing week.